Hi team, and welcome to the Everyone Active podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jo.
And I'm the other host, Michelle. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you?
Good. February steady.
Birthday
was lovely.
was it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Another year older. I'm quite enjoying it.
Are you?
Yeah.
You're embracing it?
I'm doing it. Rocking it. Just keep living it.
I see someone to the side of you.
I know. I should come with a little excitement warning for this episode. Can I introduce you, team, to the lovely Mr. Paul Minter? Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Hello.
Hello. How do I describe you? I can describe you as founder of a mental health charity. I can describe you as a medalled veteran. I can describe you as a superhuman. Tell us about you, Paul. Tell us about you.
Well, I'm kind of what you just said there. I was in the armed forces, in the army for 18 years. I did get discharged due to PTSD, mental health reasons. And from there, I went on and with some other veterans, we set up a charity called Head Up Charity, where we teach people about good daily habits and positive mindset training to give them some personal development and make them feel better.
Which is amazing. So we talk, you would have noticed on episodes that we quite like a little bit of the power of positivity, and we talk about mindset. So what better human being to bring in and to really dig into this? We should probably say, team, that some of the subjects that we're going to touch onto could be a little bit upsetting for some people. Bit triggering
for some people as well.
But we're going to talk about them, and we're going to talk about how we overcome them and like the positive sides of this. We are going to talk about you and your story in the military. So tell us about who you served with, where you fought in conflict, and what happened to you from there.
Yeah, sure. So when I was 8 years old, I didn't join the army when I was 8, don't worry.
Although nothing would surprise me.
I remember I didn't have any friends or family that were in the military, but I remember watching the Royal Marines Commando program, I think on ITV, and I just got hooked, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be with a bunch of guys getting cold and miserable and dirty and having that camaraderie and pushing ourselves to the limit and seeing how far we can take it. And it just stuck with me up until I was 15 years old, just about to leave school. And I said to my mum, I want to join the army. And at this time, it was just coming up for 2003, 2001, 2003, I can't remember now, where the Iraq war broke out.
And 9/11.
That's it, that was unfolding. And I remember watching the news at 16. I remember seeing the tanks going in and fighting Saddam Hussein's troops, and there was something in me, I don't know what it was, and I just really wanted to be there and be part of it.
What was your mum's reaction when you said you wanted to go and join the army?
My mum is a very independent person. She's all about having your independence. I used to run around to 11 o'clock at night, and it wasn't that she didn't care, it's that she wanted us to learn and make our own mistakes and do the right thing. Yeah. And so she was apprehensive, but she said, if that's what you want to do.
But supportive still.
That's it. She said, it's your choice, it's your life. You go and do what you need to do. So I was in the Household Cavalry. I was in the Household Cavalry Regiment, which, for those of you who are unaware, we're the guys who prance around on horses. We prance around in all the armour and all the uniform, looking smart. So that's the ceremonial side. Yeah. But we have a combat role where we do reconnaissance, and it's all about going forward in small man teams, locating the enemy and trying to gather as much information on them as possible and relaying the information back.
So are you sort of like infiltrating into like small communities with small groups of people? Yeah,
people don't know we're there. So we'll get dropped off by a helicopter in the middle of nowhere. Very few people know we're even doing the mission because it's very dangerous.
Wow.
And then at night time, we'll go in, dig a hole, get into a rooftop, and then there's been occasions when I've been in Iraq where I've been in the bush, stuck in the bush for 3 weeks with just 4 of us and 100 insurgents. We walk in 2 meters in front of us and no one knows we're even there.
Whoa,
so, really?
Is that the history of that regiment? Has it always been like going out undercover a little bit? Because where's the horses come into that regiment?
So before vehicles and tanks, so early 1900s and prior to that, we were cavalry, so on horses. So we'll be the ones charging through when there were stupid tactics of men facing men and charging into each other. They would be the ones on horses coming through.
And what made you decide to go into that particular sort of kind of work within the armed forces?
A very similar story to many people in the army. I got blagged into joining them.
Good recruitment officer.
Yeah,
well done.
That's what it all comes down to, the recruitment officer. I went to join the Royal Marines at 16, didn't know anything.
Right.
And then the first person I saw was an army sergeant, and then who was in the Household Cavalry, didn't know. And then he was like, this is where you've got to go for your Royal Marines training. And then I turned up in the army.
So people looking to go into the military, so we've got the Air Force, the Army, Navy, Royal Marines.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Where do they go? What do they do?
Go to a careers office, Google your local careers office. If you have an idea of what unit you want to go to, make sure that the Navy, Army, RAF are actually at that careers office.
Okay, are they not all at every careers office?
There are some that are, but not all of them, no. And that's where I went wrong. I went to my local one, it was just Army, and I had no idea. I was young and naive. But I'm very glad I joined that regiment. It was a fantastic regiment. But during my time, 18 years, I've done very well, progressed through the ranks, and I completed 5 tours, 4 in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq.
Are you okay talking about those tours? Because I know you from a personal level, and I mean, we read up about you as well, lovely, is that you saw conflicts, were right in the heart of it, and you've also had quite big episodes happen to you whilst you were out there.
Yeah, I'm very happy to talk about it. I know lots of people are not particularly keen on opening up with their stories, but for me and the job that I do, I think it's very important to let people know the realistic stories of war and what happens. Yeah. Not only just for those people who are unaware, but those who have been through it, and they can relate to other people.
They know they're not alone, don't they, as well?
Exactly that, yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's quite a stigma, and we'll go into this as well, about what you've experienced you can't then talk about. So it's then being able to process what you've seen, what you've been exposed to, but without telling people about it. Yeah. So that's where really you kind of starting to break that mould and chip away. So for team listening, tell us what happened to you.
Well, I mean, there's so much to unfold, but so we haven't got a week, so I'll just give you a few highlights. A few highlights of 3.5 years in Afghanistan. When I was part of the first units to land into Helmand Province, which is where we spent all of our time. Yeah. The people last before us were the Russians in the 80s, and then we were the next ones to land in the very first airplanes into Helmand Province. And from the minute we landed, we were fighting non-stop for 5 months, constantly. And people think it is just war, but actually what we were going out there to do was to help the locals. All the villagers, all the people that have been there for generations were being infiltrated by the Taliban, which were taking over their fields and then turning them into poppy fields for drugs. And they were making the family slaves and making them work on these fields and taking all their livelihood away from them. Wow. And we were going there to stop that. Mm-hmm.
Did the locals appreciate your role going in, or did they see you as a threat to begin with, or how did that happen?
They loved us. They would just, every time we went there and we chased the Taliban away from their villages. I'll give you an example, and if you know about religion and the Muslim religion, you know how extreme this is. And I remember being 20 years old, young, fresh, white guy, covered in army uniform, running in, chasing the Taliban off, and a 70-year-old village elder, just ran up to me, dropped to his knees and started kissing my hand. And if you know, like, that is something that they just do not do.
Oh my goodness.
That shows you how passionate they felt for us.
Wow. Well done, you.
Just in awe.
Yes. It's just like, and conflicts and war zones are horrible places at times. You've had a couple of, shall I say, near misses?
Very, very near.
Can you talk us through what actually happened to you in the regiment?
So when the first tour, we call it Herrick 4, because the campaign was called Herrick, and this was the 4th one, but even though it was the first one into this area. I was 20 years old and probably halfway through, and we had been fighting non-stop every day, pretty much. But we were doing a really big operation, really big mission, and when you get those feelers, something wasn't right. Everyone knew it, and I was the first vehicle going into this area called Musakala. And as we were going down this alleyway, already there was signs that something bad was going to happen.
Oh. You got the senses?
Got the senses. Everyone was on edge. The area had gone way too quiet, but our mission was to get to a certain point, and we had to. And before you knew it, I remember standing up in my vehicle, and I just saw this what we call a rocket-propelled grenade. So a grenade that's been fired off of someone's shoulder. Now, these are so violent that if they hit your vehicle, they penetrate the vehicle, they suck everything out, including the air and the people inside, pretty much. And I just remember looking at it and going, oh, wow, that's coming for me. And then a second later, it hit us. But it didn't penetrate, thankfully. And then we got hit by another one, and then the vehicle behind, they got hit when unfortunately no one survived that. But the rest of the people we were with, they thought had all been killed because we were all on fire and no one survived that. So they left us and got to high ground. And there's probably maybe between 80 to 100 Taliban coming into our vehicle. And I was the only one conscious, and I had to fight pretty much lots of people off. Managed to get our driver back to conscious. My commander was at the bottom trying to sort out the communications, trying to get people to rescue us. And unfortunately, our friends that were behind us, we could see all them, and they were no longer with us. And took us about 10 minutes to fight our way out, but we managed to until the rest of our troop knew that we were still alive, and some of them came back down to help us.
Yeah,
I haven't actually got words, to be honest with you.
When you're in that moment, because like maybe 1% of society is ever going to experience anything like that. What happens to your body? What happens to your senses? Are you just in strict survival mode? Can you feel a rush of different hormones? Do you remember going, I need to survive? Like you were in the epitome of fight or flight.
It's really weird. Everything slows down, probably by about 30 seconds. You know, if you were to pause something by 30 times, that's almost what it feels like. I can almost remember hearing the rounds and bullets going past my head, but almost in slow motion. And I just remember thinking, well, I'm going to die here, so let's just do what I can to stay alive as long as possible. And
did you feel a sense of, had you just kind of accepted that's what you thought your fate was going to be, or was there any panic in you? Or
I had accepted it 100%, and it wasn't necessarily a conscious acceptance. It was more of an unconscious. And bearing in mind, this is 3 months into being out there. So we've been fighting. Unfortunately, we've seen some of our friends that have died along the way. We've been around death most of the time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a complete shock. It was just like, oh, this is our moment.
This is your time.
And goodness. I do call you a superhuman, but you also said that you were bringing your teammates back to consciousness at the same time as fighting for their lives and fighting for your lives. Was the explosion, did it knock them out? Is that?
Yeah, but poor drivers, they don't have any weapons. They just got to sit there and accept everything that's coming towards them. And he was at the front, and when one of the rocket-propelled grenades hit the front of the vehicle, it just completely knocked him out. We thought he was out, he was gone, but thankfully he wasn't. But yeah, I can't imagine. I had some weapons to fight with. He's just got to sit there and accept everything that comes to him, which is very difficult.
Goodness me.
And then, so that is just a huge emotional, physical, mental episode. What happens out the other side of that? Because you said you're in constant conflict. Do you ever get time to process it?
Well, this is the problem. When you're young and you've got everyone around you, all your friends, it's very testosterone heavy, it's very bravado-ish, you're in the moment, you're not really, at 20 years old, we're not thinking mental health, mental well-being, what's going to happen. You were like, well, we're soldiers, this is what we do. So if I'm honest, it's not our responsibility to look after our mental health at that age, in that environment. It's the responsibility of the organisation and the management, and the people in charge of us.
Goodness me.
Got back to a safe zone. Then what happens? Are you looked after by a doctor, or are you literally weapons up, get ready to go again?
So what happened, the aftermath of that was quite intense. It's probably one of the biggest ambushes in the whole of Afghanistan conflict. The whole brigade came in. There was fighting going on for hours. From there, our vehicle was destroyed. So we went back to camp. We got a helicopter back to camp, and there was a vehicle waiting for us. Someone came in and said to us, well done, guys, great effort. Your vehicle's there, they need you back out on the ground. And that was it. We were back out again.
And you were 20 years old.
Yeah.
But so James, the driver, he couldn't go back out. He was a nervous wreck. He couldn't. So we had to someone had to come and replace him instantly. But it was that's how intense the fighting was out there. They couldn't have a fear cooled down. They needed people out there quickly.
And how many tours did you serve in Afghanistan?
4 in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq. Yeah.
A length of a tour is?
7 to 9 months.
Goodness.
Whoa. So first time you came home after your first tour, so you're there, you're living it, you're literally fighting for your life. How does that feel then, having to kind of come back to a bit of...
Normality, yeah.
But is it normality anymore?
It's so strange because all we talk about is, what are we going to do when we get back? Especially as we were young, we were living in Windsor, and our local nightclub was Legends, and we're like, we're going to go Legends, we're going to meet these girls, and we're these war heroes.
I think that's now Labyrinth, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
I know, because my son's 20 and he goes to Windsor a lot.
Oh, there you go.
Shout out to the Windsor crew.
Good night out in Windsor, though, isn't it?
It's a very good night out. But we came back on our first night, and we were so excited and buzzing. And we all got dressed up. The first time we put aftershave on for 6 months, whatever it is. And then we went to the club, and the reality just hit us. And we're just seeing everyone dancing and having fun. And we've just been fighting for 6 months.
Yeah.
And we all just stood there in complete silence, just looked at each other and was like, shook our heads and let's go home. And it was too much to comprehend.
Overwhelming.
Way too overwhelming, yeah. So it takes time.
Definitely. Are you decompressed, for want of a better word, on base when you get back, or is it straight back into a routine, prepping yourself for your next tour? How does that work?
They normally give you a few weeks. You have a couple of days of what they call decompression. But
couple of days
in Cyprus, so it's normally just some comedians come over, you're allowed to have a drink. They say let your aggression out here if you're going to do it anywhere, which is the best of things to do. But you should just go home and you get a few weeks off to spend with your friends and family, and then you're back into training. And
then do you get the choice about going on tour to conflict zones again, or are you literally, you're told because that is your job and that is your regiment's role and you're going?
Bit of both. Most people would at least do one, you'd expect. And then if you don't necessarily have to go on another tour if you're doing courses or whatever. So as long as you're keeping yourself busy, you don't have to. But there are enough people that volunteer, believe it or not. Most people actually want to go and do it. So
because that's why you sign up in the first place, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah. Because you're ready to go.
Ready to go.
Was that a driver in you? Did you go, I want to go back out there. I need to face this situation. I want to go and make it better. I want to, I guess, stand up for all the lads that are also out there.
Yeah, I know. You go through, you lost friends. You want to go and make up for them. It becomes a bit more normality. If you're good at doing it, the buzz is on another level. But also, like I alluded to earlier, we're helping people.
Yes,
so you don't get to help people in that sort of environment. Like we were generally making a big difference. We were making friends with the locals. We were helping to build schools. We were changing the politics. There were so many positives coming out. We got a female into the Olympics. I say we, I didn't like the government, NATO.
Yeah.
We've done so much, and we could see the change happening. You can see women and girls walking down the street, something they haven't done for years and years.
Yeah, just what we take for granted as well. You were 20 years old and you lost a lot of comrades, of friends, of names, even if you didn't know them physically, but those people that you did know physically. How do you ever comprehend and process that to then have to go and fight again with it?
I think it's just the best way that I can describe this is in the army, anywhere in the armed forces, no matter what job role you do, whether you're going to be on the front line or you're going to be in an office, you have to be conditioned to come out of a normal, semi-happy, free life to then be ready to go to war, to die, to kill, to experience the experiences you go into. And they condition you in such a way where they get you to a point where you don't really care about too much, where that you're tired all the time, you're hungry, you're wet, you're miserable, and they can repeat and repeat and repeat this. They shout at you, and it's all to the point where you're like, I don't necessarily care about my emotions, my feelings. The shock factor's gone for me.
Wow.
So when you do actually go onto the battlefield, and that's just the basic of it. When you go to advanced training, you're doing training where you've got amputees coming in and they're actors and they've got legs missing. So again, if you see that on the battlefield, you've already experienced that 50 times over in training. So the shock factors kind of not really happen. In training, you deal with comrades that have died beside you. So again, that shock factor's gone. And it's obviously it's a lot more real, but you have just to get on with it. And also we know what we're there for, unfortunately. It's very sad, but we know the realities of war.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to bypass any of your time in the military. And as always, team, if anyone's got any questions about Paul's history, please feel free to contact us and we can get you in touch with Paul and talk about it more. But I want to move you on to that moment throughout your military career. You were a brilliant soldier. You are a brilliant soldier. You're pushing your boundaries of breaking. But what happened? What was that?
Yeah.
Do you know what?
I'm out. Yeah.
I'm not okay.
I think gradually over time there was little things, but I wasn't aware of it. It's all in hindsight.
Is it because you weren't always addressing what had happened as it happened? You just sort of had to. It happened and you move on to the next issues kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was young, I was excitable, I was progressive. So, I used to have lots of nightmares, wake up in sweats, very easy to get angered and frustrated. I used to have quite a few fights on the nights out, the stuff like, silly things that I just thought like, it's just me being young and silly. But actually when you look back on it, you're thinking, okay, there was perfect signs of things that are not right.
Did you notice those same traits in your comrades that had come back with you as well? Did you notice that in a lot of them?
So many, yeah. Like we pretty much all had it. And again, because we were in each other's lives every day, we were all experienced. We had very similar personalities. Because of that, we just thought it was almost normal.
You thought that was the norm, yeah.
Yeah. And we had another real heart-wrencher. You lost close friends and comrades through suicide on base.
Yeah, unfortunately, to date, friends-wise, I knew it in the armed forces. I've lost 15 friends that have taken their lives, unfortunately.
So they are driver.
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. And I started suffering really badly. Paranoia was my thing, with my initial thing, and I think it's because when you've got that fight and flight process, it's only supposed to happen instantly. It's an instant shock that's supposed to be. Get you either to fight off or to run away. But when you're in a war situation, you've got it dripping constantly, and it's just not good for your brain to be in that fight and flight mode all the time. And you see it with I see it with lots of people from the armed forces. They have that paranoia, constantly looking around them, always on high alert. And I got it to an extreme level.
Did you?
Extreme level, to the point where I was I was in the middle of London, in the middle of the day, and I saw an Asian man with a bag on his back, and I was fighting with myself in my head, thinking that he had a bomb in it. And before you knew it, I jumped on him, shouted, "There's a bomb!" Everyone ran away. Bomb squad came in whilst I was still on top of him, checked, and then I was put in handcuffs and taken away. And that was the extreme of it.
Wow.
And when I realised something needed to happen. But what happened with paranoia is you don't want to go out anywhere and you don't want to see anyone. That leads to isolation, leads to depression, leads to anxiety, and it's just a horrible snowball effect. And then during that time, lots of my friends were taking their lives, and I'm thinking, where am I going with this? So, but thankfully things turned around for me. I started to learn different ways how I can improve my mindset. I actually moved to St Albans, which is where I am now, to get away from the military environment. So St Albans is a real big thing for me. It's a real positive place to be. And I got rid of a TV, and I was like, I'm going to change my mindset. And I started reading books, listening to podcasts, Google searching, everything, and how I can change my mindset. And I started looking into nutrition, sleep, affirmations, journaling, routines, animal therapy, music therapy, everything I could to create a perfect routine throughout the day to change my mindset. And it worked almost instantly within about 2 weeks.
Did it? Wow.
So I met you here. We should say hello to Sai, our mutual friend, who's also one of the trustees of the charity that you set up. So I was introduced to Paul with, this is my mate Paul. He's going to flip a tyre the length of a marathon. I was like, I'm sorry? Flip a tyre the length of a marathon. Okay. Hi, lovely to meet you. Whilst also thinking, you totally are. You are going to be a rock star. You're going to go. However, I think you were still serving. You hadn't yet been discharged.
You're going through the process, medical discharge.
So you were bodybuilding? That was your first big change and ownership of you. So you went on to compete. So like we've spoken about with Rory, you physiqued and placed and ticked that box. And then how were you discharged?
Going back to what you just said, one of the big things for me was physical activity. Mm-hmm. I'd stopped doing physical activity for about 2 years when I was really not in a good place. And then when I was trying to change myself, I needed to do something. So I took it to a bit of an extreme, because everything is extreme in my life.
A bit of an extreme, yeah.
So I thought of 5 challenges I wanted to do before I was 40, and I was probably about 8 years at that age. And I thought, why wait until I'm 40? Let's do them all this year. So I done a CrossFit competition, followed by the 3 peaks in 24 hours, followed by a boxing fight, followed by an Ironman, and then followed by bodybuilding competition.
Just casually dropped in an Ironman.
Yeah.
But it was just to show, it was all about self-worth, getting that self-worth back into myself and confidence, and thinking, I've still got it, it's still in me.
Yeah.
And it was needed.
And was that a huge learning curve as well for you, like the physicality? You always knew you had to work your body, because you've been trained for that long to keep pushing a boundary with your soldering. Was that something that you could bring into Civvy Street that kind of kept you focused?
It was all about focus, and the reason why there were so different extremes or sports is because I knew that it was going to keep me busy throughout the day. I couldn't just do one thing. I couldn't just constantly be running all day, every day, because that will soon become boring. I needed something to keep me on my toes whilst I was trying to sort my mind out at the same time.
Wow.
And then you were discharged from the military. Welcome to Civvy Street. What is there transition from a military life into a civilian life? Because it's polar opposites.
It's probably the worst moment for most people in the armed forces, where it's a fragile area where most people will start to experience trauma that's starting to come up with them. They will have more problems than they probably will do in that first 2 years of transition. Thankfully for me, I'd got myself into such a good headspace because of all the different things that I was learning.
Right.
That it was much better for me. And I realised I had a bit of a brainwave, and I wanted to help. What happened when I was learning all these different subjects and how I can improve my mindset? I started reaching out to friends I knew were struggling, and then giving them routines throughout the day, and then they told their friends about it, and then before you knew it, within about 3 months of living here and just working on these positive mindset methods, I had over 30 people that I was helping on a daily basis. So I knew that more needed to come from this.
Mm-hmm. So then we set ourselves a goal of what do we want to do? Run around the UK and start a mental health charity predominantly aimed at the armed forces.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Just 2 little very casual, things. Read a book? No. Run the UK.
Well, the charity came first. Me and some friends said we'd lost so many friends that unfortunately took their lives, and we were going to funerals, and we just said, what can we do? What can we do about this? And they said, Paul, what about the routines that you're doing? Why don't we make this into a retreat where people can come to? So we went through the process of setting up a charity. This is just during the COVID times as well.
Oh, right,
so it was quite difficult to do. But we all sat around the table and we said, if we're going to start an armed forces charity or a charity of any type, how do we promote it? How do we let people know who we are? How do we get some attention? How can we raise some fundings? And we all said we need to do something big. And I said, well, I'll take the first hit. And I come up with the idea of running around all the coastlines of England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Isle of Wight, and Isle of Man. And it was like,
say that again. The concept of what?
So 5,000 miles around the UK coastlines in 7 months, which averaged out at 30 miles a day every day. And Joe, you know it very well because you was helping with accommodation, which is fantastic. And so the idea was not to have a support team, which lots of people were saying you need. And I said, I want the general public to be involved. I want to get the word out there about the charity. Yeah. So kindly, over 200 strangers, families took me in. They looked after me as I ran around. Over 3,000 people came out to join, whether it be cycling, running, or just come out to cheer and give me food and water.
And you had school children out one day with their flags waving you round, and like all the communities. It was a privilege to actually watch what you were creating and doing, because you would just be that light that somebody needed, and then you would be that light that somebody went, oh, I can help you, or you would be that person getting to accommodation and being able to just meet people and tell your story, and someone going, I know that's happened to my daughter. She was serving. Yeah. My son's currently out there. What do I need to be aware of? So, like, you were absolutely shaking. Did you set a world record?
It was an unofficial, because I didn't want to. Guinness World Records wanted to do something like £32,000, which I did not have in my back pocket. So, so it's unofficial. I'm the first person to run around the coastlines of the UK. There's been a few people done Great Britain, but just because I put Northern Ireland in there, it was the UK. And also the fastest person to run around Great Britain because it was 7 months, and I think the fastest before that was 13 months.
Wow.
13 months, and you did it in 7? Wow. So that was the awareness raiser.
Is there still a stigma attached to it within the armed forces?
Yeah, there really is. I think there's a stigma attached almost everywhere. People say there's not. A lot of people say there's not, but there is. And I experienced it. And I know it's been a few years since I left. It was November 2020. But I speak to people all the time. I'm more in touch with the armed forces now than I've ever been, with veterans and people all around the armed forces.
And do you go in and speak to the sort of in situ kind of things? Do you go and manage to speak to people when they're actually still serving and things like that? Or?
Yeah, one of the things that we do as an armed forces, as a charity for the armed forces.
We need to drop the name of the charity in right now.
Head Up Charity, Head Up Charity.
We're going to put a link in here as well on this podcast.
Yeah, it's Head Up Charity, and it's all about lifting your head up. When you're feeling down, you're often looking down. Also, when you lift your head up, you open up your lungs, you open up your throat, and you can breathe easier, and everything just looks a lot more lighter. It's normally the first step of getting better, is just looking up.
So you're going into different units, are you, when speaking to people about your charity and how you can help? Or how?
Yeah, we give wellness presentations all around the UK, armed forces. So last year we managed to reach just over 1,800 armed forces personnel through presentations, teaching them about these different techniques and positive mindset methods that they can use. And just because we're an armed forces charity, everything we do is for anyone can use it. You know, it's something that we all need, and we've got a website where you can go onto and you can learn about these different
and drop
methods.
us the website right now.
So it's head-up.org.uk, but if you just put in Head Up Charity to Google, the website should come up first, I hope.
Okay.
And also on all the social media platforms, just put in Head Up Charity and you'll see it. We've got a very decent following, and we're doing quite well, and it's fun and exciting, and all relative.
Yeah, so the end goal is to get a retreat for serving, for retired?
Yeah, both. So the idea is, we was like, how do we capture people falling through the cracks? Those who are not asking for help, those who don't know, you're not aware that they need help, they're not telling people, or there's been help available to them but they don't want to go to it, or it's been offered and not taking it. There's many different reasons why. Most of the people that unfortunately take their lives in the armed forces community have never even spoke to someone about it. So how do we get to those people? So what we've done is we've said that we're a proactive and reactive charity. So anyone in the armed forces or veterans, over 3 million people, can access our help for free. It doesn't matter what their mindset is. They can be in a great place, or they can be having some real issues. We accept everybody. Hopefully that way we'll capture people at all different levels, and we entice those who maybe don't want to admit that they've got a problem to actually come and just get some free personal development. We're going to have a 7-day retreat, which is going to be completely for free. We pay for the travel, pay for your time there, and hopefully people will just come along and they'll learn different ways on how they can improve their life through holistic methods.
And I guess it's going to be important not to have things that are going to be triggering for people, within the retreat, and sort of keep away from military sort of stuff as much as you can.
You're absolutely on the now, and I don't know if you knew this, but we're complete. Everything we do, we don't have any military paraphernalia, so we're non-militarized. So even the people that work there will be experts in certain fields, but civilian-based. So apart from the guests who will be military, there's no feeling of it being a military. It's like you'll be going to a luxury retreat for free, basically.
Amazing.
And we talk about the strength of your mindset. Like, you are phenomenal, and I will say that all day long, and hopefully listeners, you are absolutely in agreement. It's going to be really hard, but can you sum up some of that positive? If somebody's in a tricky spot right now, are there 3 pointers or a routine, something? What can you give that person right now that they can start to hang on to?
I would say that little things, okay? Gratitude is such a big thing. Be grateful for what you've got in life. When you're in a bad place, and I've been there, it's very difficult to be grateful for anything because you think everything's rubbish and your life is messed up. But there's so much to be grateful for. And if you can't find things to be grateful for yourself, look outside of yourself. Start being grateful for someone else. One of the things we teach is hormones. So we've got so many different hormones rushing around our body. And when you actually know what different hormones do and you can start to feel them, you can start to manipulate them.
Right.
Okay, so you need to start to activate these happy hormones, which Joey has abundance of, and I love it. And so get the serotonin going, get all the endorphins rushing around. How do you do that? Physical activity. Physical activity could just be walking around your block if you don't want to see people. Do it at night time if you don't want to make eye contact with people. Do something nice for someone. Even if doing something nice for someone is smiling at someone, a stranger walking down the road.
Yeah.
When I was going through my change of being a negative to positive person, on so many of the books I read said, smile at strangers. Now for me, after 18 years in the army, smiling at someone, let alone a stranger, was not something I did. Okay. And I just remember, it took me about 5 weeks to smile at a stranger walking down the road. And I remember, I always remember the lady's face. There was a lady in about her 40s, and I saw her, and I was like, I'm going to smile at this lady. So as we were walking across the road, that's what it was like. I was so anxious. I just smiled at her. I was like, and she just looked at me like, what is wrong with this guy?
And you're like, oh.
But now I do it everywhere. Everywhere I go. If I go to a shop, I'm like, hello, hi, how are you? Make a conversation. And that was so abnormal to me back then.
Out of your comfort zone.
It used to be. Not anymore. It's just normal. Because what I'm trying to get at is do something nice for someone. Smile at someone. Ask them how they are. Maybe if without telling people, go and buy a homeless person a meal and give it to them. Because the strongest possible thing anywhere in the world, stronger than any drug, is serotonin, right? And it's the hormone that we got, and it's what keeps us thriving as a community, as humans, and keeps us alive.
And if any of our listeners have got a skill that they think that could benefit people within the charity, would you encourage them to reach out to you to help others, or are you sort of still looking for people to come and help at your retreats and stuff like that you go when you speak to people?
So the retreat will be up in the Midlands in Worcestershire.
And how far away are you from getting that sort of finished?
We've got all the construction side good and ready to go, so it won't take long. We're just looking for some land. We've just sent out over 1,500 letters to key people, estate agents, and we're already getting loads of emails back. So we're very confident we're going to get the land.
And let's just say it right now, funding. Like you give for free the services of this. So funding, sponsorship, donations. How do people get in contact? Could companies sponsor certain elements?
We're always looking for fundraising. We have loads of fun, exciting fundraisers. Like I said, everything we do is for free. We don't charge for anything for the people that we work for. All the work we do is voluntary. So all of our time is completely voluntary. We are a full non-for-profit charity. We've got the highest status. No one can financially benefit from our charity. So you know that anything that you put into us is going towards those who need it. We're always looking for sponsors. We have lots of fun, exciting stuff. We've teamed up with Gymshark. Those of you know Gymshark is. We've teamed up with them. We do lots of work with them, helping lots of people. We have loads of events throughout the year. So if anyone wants to get involved, if you want to help out at the retreat, you've got some sort of skill, well-being skill, whatever it may be, please get in touch. We have a database and we'll certainly be in touch close to the time.
And at the retreat, like outdoors is as important as indoors. Just talk about what a day could look like for somebody there.
Yeah, certainly. So 7 days. We expect the first 3 days of teaching, getting them relaxed and calm, going through a routine. So different subjects will be touching on nutrition, sleep, ecotherapy, so being outside, where we'll have greenhouses, we'll have bee hives. Also, we're going to have animal therapy, where we're having 2 former armed forces horses and 2 former armed forces dogs, so people can look after them as well whilst they're there. We go into morning and evening routines, gratitude, affirmations, journaling, emotional. We let people talk to people about emotional intelligence, anger management, socialization, stoicism as well. Just lots of different subjects that people may not be aware of. We go into cold water therapy that we do on a daily basis, and meditation, yoga, so lots of different things. And we don't expect people to buy into everything, but they might find certain subjects that they feel,
it's giving them the tools that they can pick out and implement in their everyday.
Yeah, and we go a bit more into deeper understanding and awareness. So what we don't do is we don't just say, oh, here's cold water, it makes us feel really good. Why don't you try it? We say, it's really good, why don't you try it? This is what it does for you chemically inside of your body. It's what it does for you physically, psychologically. This is the neuro pathways that are happening inside your brain when you go inside of it. This is about the nervous system. So they have an understanding of why something is good for them, not just that it is.
Wow. And does that fit then back into that military and really frontline services? There's a why. There's always needs to be a why and an explanation for that why in order to then go on. Is that why the education is really important?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're so informed with the military, Joe. It's impressive. We are all about whys. We're all about asking the next question until we have a definitive answer in the military. So yes, we're always seeking the why, because then once you have it, you've got more of a need rather than just a want.
Yeah, I tapped onto it briefly then. Do you want to give a shout out for certain rowers?
Yes, please. So I did say earlier that we all said we're going to do something big to promote the charity. So I done mine, and to their word, George Dagnall and Adam Carrier, along with who are founders of the charity and trustees, along with two others, friends who work in the city, they have just completed rowing 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean in a rowboat. And there were 38 teams. They actually finished 4th. Now, that is incredible, considering before they started this on the 13th of December, they had 0 experience at rowing and 0 experience at sea. So
who are these people?
Whoa.
Human,
see, but this is the positive finds positive and the push for each other and the camaraderie. You're like, well, you've set it by running around the UK, let's face it.
That's it.
And there's also, though, I see it on your Facebook and I see it on Instagram, is there are children also helping to fundraise because they might have a connection with the charity, but also they're like, I get this, I want to do some fundraising. And they've been on runs, they've been doing like little bake stalls. So fundraising is open to all.
Exactly. And it's about pushing yourself and doing something good for people at the same time. Like my run, I don't know if I would have completed it if I didn't have that purpose behind me. So that purpose of helping people is what I thought about every single day.
Wow, when things got tough. And how can people donate? Is it on the website? How can they get involved and donate to you?
Yeah, our website, again, social. If you're on Instagram, you can have a look at, and we've got the links on there. But the website's probably the best place. If you just go on to Head Up Charity in Google, click the website, have a little read through our website because it is fun and exciting. And there should be donation buttons on most pages.
And can people read about your stories, individual people's stories, and how you sort of founded the charity and that kind of thing if they want more information?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want a head-up pack, which details a bit more about the charity, who we are, it's got a brochure in there. We gift them out to people for free. So send us a message, put your address on there, and just ask to say that you want a head-up pack and where you heard this from, and we'll send you one out.
Get fundraising people. I'm thinking we could do events. I'm sitting there thinking we could do events.
Well,
we could do things.
What's in my head? High Rocks, you did say that you were going to do that. Just saying.
Right, yeah. I said I'd do
this first.
I said I'd do some of High Rocks. And
if we could do it as a team.
Okay.
We could fundraise.
Okay.
Yes, I love this stuff. Okay, we are going to have to wrap up, but I really want you, if there is a friend, a family member who thinks they might know a veteran or a serving member of the military that isn't quite themselves, what do they do? How do they reach out? What do they need to be aware of?
It's a fairly difficult subject because you don't want to make them feel victimised in any way. But just say, I think just having a constant contact be happy, be positive around them. Because when you're in a bad place, the reason why you don't reach out to people is because you don't want to bring them down. To show them that you're not bringing them down. Show them that you're happy in their presence. So that's the key thing. If they are in the military or the veterans, reach out to us, please do. We're non-intrusive. The one key thing about our charity, as well as being proactive, is we don't require any medical evaluation and no doctor's notes. So we're taking that out. Okay, so we're a very passive charity. So we'll just guide people through some good daily habits, and we can either take it nice and slow, or we'll take it to advanced levels if we need to.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's up to them. But I'll just say, just be happy around their presence.
And if somebody is listening right now that is serving or has currently served and is going, okay,
I'm relating to this.
What do you want them to do? What's their steps?
Get in touch with us. Say as little or as much as you want to. You can just say, hi, I want to find out a bit more, and then we'll start the conversation going and we'll see what's happened. Or you can just give us a 5-page essay on what's going on in your life, and we'll read through that and get in touch with you. We'll put you onto our database. We do wellness days, mini retreats, and we've got obviously our big retreat coming up. We can put you on a database, and anything that's coming up, any event, we'll let you know. And again, we'll pay for your travel and the whole time there.
Just start that conversation.
Just start it, yeah.
Inspiring. Just I could sit and listen to you all day. Honestly, I kept thinking I need to ask questions, but I've just been sitting looking at you and listening to what you're saying.
Just amazing.
Just amazing.
Yeah. Thank you for being
you. Thank you for all you've done as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me on this show. I know it's so important to get the word out there. Again, it doesn't matter if you're in the military or not, we're all human beings. We can all learn from each other. And I've certainly learned from speaking with you two today. So thank you.
Oh, absolute pleasure. So team, as we've said before, reach out. You can contact us through the podcast at everyoneactive.com
and we'll also
address.
pop the links on here for all of your socials and your website and stuff, so people can get in touch as well with you directly.
Thank you.
And even if you can't email us, find the Everyone Active Instagram, find the Everyone Active.
Yeah, we'll be tagging you on
Facebook and just message, reach out. You're not alone, and there is such an amazing charity out there who do have your back.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
That's all we've got time for.
I know.
Another one done and dusted.
But team, thank you for listening. Please, if any episode, this is the one to reshare, post, spread the word on. Tag, find Head Up Charity on all the socials and just get the word out there. But thank you once again for listening, and thank you again, Paul, for being here. But that's it from us.
I reckon we'll get loads of 5-star reviews for this one.
Come on.
Definitely will, won't we?
I think it's deserved. Take care, team.
We'll see you next time. Bye.